everybody. Welcome in. It is a Tuesday night edition of the Texans Collective after a Monday night football game for the ages, if you're a Texans fan, as the Texans move on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs here in the 2025 season after a 30-6 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, the very first road win in Texans history in the postseason. We need a couple more of these to get to the Super Bowl, possibly. We'll talk about that tonight and a whole lot more as we welcome you into the Texans Collective here. I am Sean Pendergast, one half of Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. weekdays, alongside Landry Locker of The Locker Room with Landry Locker and SNL as well. Reggie Atatula in the loop on Sports Radio 610, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. weekdays. And, of course, Cody Stutes. Last but not least, Houston football with Cody Stutes and SNL as well, alongside Landry Locker. And it is great to be with all of you on a Tuesday night after a win that 30-6 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a little tense for about three quarters, and then the Texans did what they do, which is roll up teams in the fourth quarter of this game. There's a lot to dig into with this game, though, both good and concerning, as the Texans head into New England for a Sunday afternoon game this weekend. But let's start with the very easy stuff, guys, which is the Texans moving on for the third time in the DeMeco Ryans era in 3 years. The Texans win a wild card round game in resounding fashion on the final scoreboard. DeMeco Ryans, the first coach, I believe, to win 3 wild card games in 20-plus point fashion on the scoreboard. And now they move on to New England to face the New England Patriots. So let's start there. Initial takeaways from the game. We'll get into C.J. Stroud and all the turnovers and everything else. But the big story to me in this one, right alongside, if C.J.'s 1B, 1A is the defense in this game, which I think continues to be the one thing that buoys this team up and gives them an opportunity to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was the best defensive performance in probably franchise history, to be honest with you. And I know that the score is similar to the first 2 times that DeMeco Ryans has won in this round, but this was a 3-quarter game, as you put it, Sean. And quite frankly, it wasn't close, not because the offense blew the top off. It became a 2-possession game because the defense scored a touchdown. So I think you can start anywhere you want to start. We can start it with the defensive line, where the usual suspects did their thing. I actually was impressed with the guys on the back end. In a very quick time, fellas, they fixed their D-line depth that we were very concerned about, like at the snap of a finger. They played a couple of guys, and then they fixed it at the snap of a finger. And you saw those guys making big plays. I asked DeMeco about that. I thought he was really, really in-depth on that today. So you start there. You work your way to the outside. The cornerbacks, they did what they usually do. And then we can go to the linebackers and the safeties. This was the best defensive performance in franchise history, and they needed every bit of it too. Like, there was no margin for error with this defense, and they came out there, they brought it. And I don't think it's like a shocking thing that it happened, but I found myself just incredibly amazed by the overall effort of the defense from the front to the back to the side, everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic point to bring up. This defense, we've talked about how this team very much has a style of play that they've set themselves into, a recipe, so to say. I thought that was going to be one that had a very narrow margin for error. And apparently the margin's a little bit wider because they can rev this thing up a lot higher than I thought they could. Like, that is the scary portion of this. If you allow me to zig a little bit here, I think also this was a weirdly encouraging offensive game, because in spite of your quarterback giving the ball away a few times, you found a run game that I did not think that you were capable of. I think your offensive coordinator did a good job of finding the things that you did well and just kind of sticking to it. And then you actually schemed up a touchdown in the red zone, and I think you have to give that to the head coach, or not the head coach, rather the offensive coordinator there, in having a good schematic play that created an advantage and gave you an opportunity to score a touchdown. Those are things that I had honestly almost let go of the rope on things that could happen at this late stage in the season. And they showed up in the wild card round. And I go, okay, what happens if you get not spectacular C.J. Stroud, rookie C.J. Stroud, or anything of the sort? What happens if you get average C.J. Stroud? Is this thing is humming at a whole different level, because the defense, I believe them capable of doing that again. And then you just ask yourself all those other offensive things plus an average CJ Stroud, and now you're cooking with fire. You're cooking with grease. I love it.
They have a Super Bowl caliber defense. I mean, they had a Super Bowl caliber defense probably last year, but this one feels even better. And the thing that I felt was really especially impressive about this defense, we've seen them all year long kind of hold the line and keep the offense in it even when the offense is having some struggles. We've seen them maybe from time to time overcome some of the bad positions that the offense put them in. But in the playoffs, when last week you talk about a small mistake turns into a big mistake, and big mistakes are even more magnified than previously, the defense just really overcomes some of the bad offensive moments, some of the turnovers, forces kicks after some of those big mistakes. And even with points getting taken off the board, the defense goes and adds points to give you that final little bit where you felt good about it. I don't know about you guys. I felt pretty strongly in the third quarter that the Steelers are not putting up more than 9 or 12 points in this game. So get to 13 and call it a night was kind of what I was thinking from the offense. And ultimately, the defense gets you home with their first of 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. It was an incredible defensive performance, but the thing that I loved that you saw from this defense was the offense screwed some things up big time, and then the next thing you know, the defense is fixing it by forcing the Steelers to kick it at the end of that next possession.
Yeah, I had said even prior to the Ravens and Steelers game on Sunday night in Week 18, I cannot envision the Steelers scoring 13 points against this Texans defense. That's why I was among hundreds of thousands of Texans fans that were rooting for the Pittsburgh Steelers in that Sunday night game. I just have, you watch with your own eyes and you can tell, like, that's Aaron Rodgers is going to be exactly where you want him to be when that pass rush gets there. We saw that multiple times in that game. And that's why my max bet for the weekend was the Steelers under 18. I thought Steelers under 18.5 points was stealing in this game. I max bet that thing. So there's that. But the Texans defense, I thought after the turnovers in this game, the 2 turnovers, particularly not the interception CJ threw, but the 2 fumbles, 10 plays, 9 yards after those 2 turnovers, I thought said everything you need to know. This Texans defense, if we're looking at the past, say 8 or 9 years of the Super Bowl era here, I would say that the Mahomes, Tyreek Hill offense, Andy Reid, like that whole offense of the initial years of Mahomes in Kansas City, 2019, 2021, really before Tyreek Hill got traded, this Texans defense is the most fearsome unit in that period of time alongside that offense of the Kansas City Chiefs, which felt unstoppable. Mahomes was winning an MVP, throwing 50 touchdown passes when he first got that job. This unit of the Texans defense, the other 7 teams in the NFL are on notice with this defense right now. This defense can go win a Super Bowl for this team, provided that CJ Stroud's not going to get any mulligans anymore. He got a mulligan last night with the nature of the 3 turnovers, the stupidity and the boneheadedness of the 3 turnovers. He's not going to get a mulligan like that again. They don't have to be elite as an offense. It would help if they continue to run the football the way they did last night. That's something we can talk about for sure. But this defense right now is, like in the last decade of Super Bowls, among the most fearsome units, either offense or defense, that I've seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's the most love that a Texans team has gotten. It's one of the main talking points. I don't put a lot of stock in the picks. Like, I think all but one person picked the Steelers. Stephen A. was doing the I'm a Steeler fan bit, and Ryan Clark is a former Steeler. He tried to do like a McAfee style pick, and it fell flat. But like, this defense is getting a hell of a lot of love, and it's getting a lot of attention. But I agree with Reggie. I think that we've said this, or at least I've said this. Nick Caley's looked a little bit better the last few weeks, and to the point where I think in 2 of the 3 games, he was actually better at what he did than CJ Stroud was at what he was doing. Yeah. And I think yesterday was the epitome of that, specifically in the second half. I think if you look at the second half, they were throwing on first down. They ran a play action. They threw to Higgins right across the middle. I thought he did a good job of that. Woody Marks, that was a Joe Mixon-like performance, like period, point blank, end of story. Like that was a Joe Mixon-like performance, like the toughness. By the way, the hot mic might be a little bit dangerous when you have Woody Marks there. That a lot of curse words there, some of which I can't say. I don't think some of us can say those words. But Reggie, you can. Reggie, you're welcome. Reggie, you're welcome to say those words. But I thought Woody Marks put on a like performance, and I was getting credit, and it was undue credit because I said that maybe Christian Kirk flips the switch and gives you more than he has in the regular season. His first catch was more than all but 3 games. The 33-yard diving catch was literally more than 3 of the games he had this season. I didn't anticipate Christian Kirk having the best playoff performance a wide receiver's ever had in Texans history, but life comes at you fast. So there was a lot. Oh yeah, Nick Chubb, third down back. It looked pretty good. Like there was a lot of guys that elevated their play that you don't necessarily expect. And the best thing about this that I can say is, and I think we need to put this to rest because I feel like we've been kind of on this roller coaster the last 3 years where if you are like a CJ Stroud apologist or you're someone that wants to ride and die with your quarterback, that's great. But a lot of times you question surroundings and the surroundings around him or this and that. That's not the case. Even without Nico Collins, if they don't have Nico Collins, they have plenty of weapons to win. They have a defense. There are not too many quarterbacks that could play the way CJ Stroud did yesterday. And I don't think it was all bad and win. So the surroundings, this is a very CJ friendly team, and they're not necessarily dependent on him putting together an incredible effort.
Oh yeah, the CJ thing, I think we have to dig into that here shortly. I did want to go back though one more, Sean, you were talking about the defense, and what it made me think of is the incredible thing about this defense is that they are multifaceted in that I think with some defenses, you have the defense that is stout. With some defenses, you have the defense that is explosive, right? Because you compared it to the Kansas City Chiefs offense as a unit, and that unit was incredibly explosive, but they could also, just kind of grind you out. The idea that this defense can both stifle you, choke you out, but then also have explosive, whether it's a huge sack that sends you backwards or take the ball away. And I think that those things, like when you put them together, is the thing that is so incredible. Any way that you want to do this, they are down to tango and they will take you to the mat. That is insane behavior, really and truly. Any way that you want to play this, you want to play this in coverage, it shows up. You want to play this with a level of pressure, it shows up. And the linebackers, I think, continually deserve respect because this game was going to be one that was won with linebackers coming up and tackling. And boy, did they do that in spades, right? Like they did it to an incredible level. In fact, it felt like early on they were unsettled because the linebackers were just a little bit undisciplined, right? DK Metcalf's first catch over the middle was Azeez Al-Shire deciding to come up when he probably needs to sit there and hold his ground in that space. And then once that happens, this thing is over. There was no bit of life for the Steelers all the way across because this defense is both a strangler and then a defense that can also turn this up to 11 and then go create explosive things. I'm in awe of this defense. Every time I think about it, it gives me gives me chills.
You've got really 2/3 of basically what DeMeco Ryans would consider to be a perfect football game. His defense dictated how things operated when they were on the field and they were super physical. And he says it probably once a week. If it's not about the offense, it's about the defense. We don't care as much about what they do. If we do what we do, we're going to go out there and we're going to take care of our business. So that was element number one. Element number two was they ran the football well. The running backs deserve a lot of credit. The offensive line did a good job getting push. They were moving guys out of the way. And certainly with Nick Caley deciding to go back to it as it started to work, and they're just going to shove it down the Steelers' throats as they keep going. That was fantastic. And the element that he didn't get is take care of the football. His quarterback didn't take care of the football. So DeMeco Ryans, if I was guesstimating what his 3 perfect things to a football game are, it's awesome defense, run the football well, and don't turn it over. And hey, 2 out of 3 ain't too bad. You're probably going to need 3 out of 3 from this moment on to continue winning football games. But DeMeco got one of his two parts of a picture perfect game for him.
It's crazy to think what this might have looked like if CJ had just protected the football, because their 2 touchdown drives that they had, the offense, were 14 plays, 92 yards, and 11 plays, 87 yards. And they were at different junctures in the game. It was the first one was in the first half of the game when they're trying to establish some things and they go take a 7-3 lead. The second one was in the game. It was after Nico had gone out with a concussion. It was after they had taken the 17-6 lead, and now they're just trying to close the game out, burn clock, get first downs, get into third and manageable situations, and they continue to convert on third down. They were 10 of 15 in this game on third down, and it ends up being an 11-play, 87-yard drive for a touchdown. It makes you wonder, if instead of throwing an interception in the red zone, if CJ, they score a touchdown there, we're talking about a game where they might have multiple drives of double-digit plays of the length of the field type stuff where they're scoring touchdowns. That's a really encouraging thing if CJ can just pull his head out of his ass and not throw silly interceptions and take silly fumbles like that.
And I think we saw what that looked like, Sean, because you talked about key moments, and I did my 15 key moments earlier today on my channel, but I think the key moment in that drive, which I considered the best drive of the season for the Texans, the 7+ minute drive where they took the 7-3 lead, was on second down. There's a bad snap. They need to figure out what the hell the deal is. And CJ Stroud, instead of doing what he did a couple of other times in similar situations, he gathers the ball, he throws it away, and then on the next play, he hits Christian Kirk on third down. So that's why it's frustrating. That's why you watch the flea flicker and you say, okay, maybe it was a bad call by Nick Caley. Maybe it was a bad pitch by Woody Marks. Maybe it was a bad block by Blake Fisher, but at the end of the day, CJ Stroud has the ability to be able to protect that and charge that to the game, and we saw it on that drive. So that's what the frustrating part is. The other thing is, we've talked about this a time, and this is where I do wonder, like, can you really just sweep these turnovers over the rug? Are they mistakes, or is it a mentality? Because it feels like and it looks like CJ Stroud does not want to run since he had the concussion. He has 20 yards in the 6 games now after having 20 or more in 6 of 8. So if he's trying, a lot of times it looks like he's trying to avoid contact, and that is kind of a problem. Like even on the interception, if he just runs a little, I don't like telling quarterbacks what they should do, but either Troy Aikman said it, you run to the sidelines or you can run outside and you can set your feet and make a better throw. It feels like he's trying to avoid contact, but the frustrating thing is, he's capable. It's not like he's a statue, but for whatever reason, it just feels, and he's not even catching it. Sean, he dropped 2 snaps. Like there was a couple times where he wasn't ready. He literally just dropped snaps. Yeah. So you just wonder, like, was it just a nerve thing? Is it a mentality thing? That's where I'm a little bit hesitant to just dismiss this as, oh, he made some mistakes.
Yeah, it's funny because you talked about his unwillingness to run, and I think that is definitely subtext here. I don't know that if it explains this. For me, it felt watching this game that he was pressing because he was trying to do a lot, and I wonder if this was just a DeMeco Ryans, hey, okay, everybody needs to bring a little bit more, and CJ interprets that as I need to do more, right? The flea flicker, which I thought was interesting because, again, to Kaylee's credit, it was clear that he saw Jalen Ramsey as a mark, and we need to go attack the middle of the field. And it was there, but CJ Stroud is desperately trying to get that shot when in all reality, the mentality that has given this team an opportunity to have some stability and some progress is if it's there, cool. But if not, protecting the football is number one. And you can see him hold the ball a little too long, think I can get this down the field, and boom, here they are hitting your hand and the ball is coming out. And so there's that. And then you talked about the dropped, snaps. And there's noticeably you can see his eyes still looking up, trying to survey the field. He's trying so hard to like be in a mental portion of this game where it hurt the simple things. That's not an excuse, but it is kind of interesting to me that in pressing, he kind of made himself worse. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing here, right? The idea that he has the desire is cool, but the idea that he failed with this opportunity to try and rev that up to be like, I'm going to be in the cerebral portion of this game, I'm going to stand in, and it ended up working against him. I don't believe that that's absolutely going to happen again, but I think that if you have questions as to CJ's aptitude to handle like the nerves of this circumstance, even though we've seen him be good in the playoffs before, handle the nerves of this circumstance, especially when he is being asked to be a little bit more cerebral, asked to have a little bit more decision-making, him failing on the first attempt, that is a little disconcerting, I'll be honest. So I don't think it looks this bad, but I do wonder, what does it look like? Because this offense does ask him to make a lot of these decisions in the moment.
Yeah, I just feel like there are so many mistakes that you can put in different buckets, all of them in the unacceptable category. Like, catch the snap. Like him and Jake Andrews, when that doesn't go right the first time, that has to get fixed in game. Like that can't happen more than once. I could live with a once, but it happening multiple times, not being on the same page. Andrews snaps at one time. And look, that's not only on CJ thing. That's a Jake Andrews thing as well, but that can't happen multiple times throughout the course of the game. You've also got the turnovers. Like stop trying to do too much. That's the element of what the Texans' approach is we're not going to do too much. We're going to do exactly what we do. And CJ tried to do. When that flea flicker doesn't go off without a hitch, you got to just take the sack or move around or something. You can't try to put the ball in the air. Like, he saw Sawyer coming at him. He saw Sawyer get by him. Like, there's more rushers coming. That can't happen. The interception was one of the worst plays he's made all season long. That even if he doesn't run and he tries to make a throw, he made a throw that had a less than 1% chance of getting completed to his player. Like, that was either going to be a risky incomplete or an interception. It ultimately ended up being an interception. It continues to be more and more things that fall into the unacceptable category. And then there's just the flat out misses. He's too high on Nico Collins on a play that should have gave them points before half. He was too high on a Collins pass on the sideline. I know Nico slipped, but I don't think that was going to be a completed pass either. He had a couple of other, off passes there. Like, there's a few things you could be okay with, but they can't all show up at the same time. And then there's a few things that you just can't be okay with. I'm not okay with the trying to do too much on a couple of those plays, and the snap stuff has to get fixed in game right away. It shouldn't have been a persistent problem throughout the course of that game.
He left a minimum of 9 points on the field.
Maybe 13. Nico might have scored.
I'm saying a minimum. I like on that play, Landry. I'm accounting for he might have gotten tackled at the 10-yard line or something. I'm with you. When they show that behind the quarterback view and you see that, you go, that's 7 right there. But let's be conservative here. Minimum of 9 points he left on the field with the turnover deep in his own territory, where the best case scenario for the defense was they stop him and they give up a field goal attempt. The play you're talking about with Nico wide open, which, you got to hit that play and complete it. And then whatever happens, run after the catch happens. And then the interception on the first drive of the second half, you defer to the second half so you can do something with that possession and you turn it over in the red zone. It's just a catastrophe. I guess my big thing is, what's our concern level over this being something that's going to happen again? The only thing that matters is, do we think this is going to happen again in New England on Sunday? That's the only thing that matters.
It's very possible. I wouldn't completely dismiss it. I think New England, the way they attack quarterbacks, is interesting. Stunts. There's a lot of stunts going on. I will say, though, maybe there's a little bit of a prisoner of the moment element in that we just saw them go against the Chargers 25th, I think, line combination. So of course they looked pretty good. But I actually think it is possible. But I do want to quote Bill O'Brien, as I did this morning. And I want to go back to 2019. It was the notorious "You Suck Too" mother trucker game where he was yelling at the fan walking off the field after the Texans got down to like a 28-0 deficit against the Broncos. And at the press conference, Bill O'Brien went up there and he said, "It wasn't all horse shit on offense."
Yes.
And it was funny. It was funny because, well, they kind of tapped the brakes a little bit on you because they were beating your ass so bad. So you kind of had it got a little bit better. But I do think that's the case with C.J. Stroud. As much as we're talking about the negatives, it wasn't all horseshit for C.J. Stroud. He was awesome on third down. He was awesome on third down. Like, there was some epic displays on third down despite the mistakes. So there still is a little bit of good. I'm going to beat this point. I'm going to hammer this point because this is not revisionist history. This is something we talked about the second he got hurt, and we've seen it play out. You're going to have to use the legs, man. Like, yeah. I'm not being insensitive to whatever you're thinking or whatever. I'm not being insensitive to that. I understand that if I had a concussion and I got hit like that, I would be scared as hell to run too. So I'm not sitting here trying to say that, but I'm saying it's going to have to happen if they're going to do what they need to do. Like, there's going to have to be times where you're going to have to use those legs. You're going to have to extend. You're going to have to get down. You're going to have to use them eventually. But yes, Sean, to answer your question, I think it could happen. But I don't know that the Texans this week are. I don't know that there's a threat that they get blown out. Like, I don't think there's like that threat right now. And the other thing is, and we'll get to the defense. Like, it's hard for me to imagine a guy in his first playoff like Drake May just going out there and lighting up DeMeco Ryans. Like, when's the last time DeMeco Ryans faced someone that's young in the playoff process that he didn't just completely dismantle? Like, right. The guys that they've lost to were Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Other than that, he keeps these guys pretty well in check.
Yeah, I think the funny thing with CJ Stroud is it's possible, but he really just needs to unclench his butt cheeks. You know what I mean? Like he just looks so damn tight. And it's weird because the more that he has surrendered to the process, the better he's looked. I even think back to games in which he kind of has to he gets pushed up into a wall and he's like, hey, this is just kind of the play that we have to make. It feels like it goes better in that way. And I think that he's trying too hard. Like it just strikes me as he is trying too hard, which is funny because if we were in the court of public opinion where people are trying to decide, should you pay CJ Stroud the extension? Sure. The court of the Houston Texans is that dude going to get that extension. They love you. They believe in you. They have set up circumstances to where now, especially in this game, you have all the things that are going to support you the way that you need to. The defense is going to answer the bell 10 times out of 10. And it looks like your offensive line is starting to move people, at least against a 3-4 front here, right? Maybe you have some answers here. So all you got to do is do what you do. And it just feels like if he's able to succumb to that, I think that he could be a lot better. I just wonder, why did that pop up in a wild card game where it felt like that had been the messaging for him all season long, was just protect the football and do the right thing. And all of a sudden, this anxiety, at least I'm going to term it, pops up.
By the way, that's a yes. It could definitely happen again. That's two yeses. It could definitely happen again. There's not a lot of confidence.
He's showcased some skittishness here down the stretch since the return. And there's been some moments where he's been skittish and he's overcome it. I think Kansas City is probably one of the best examples. Like there were moments where they had no answers. He had no answers, and he still went out there and had enough plays in the totality of that game to overcome it. He himself down the stretch mentioned there were a couple times where he let the pass rush get to him. He was feeling it too much. It definitely felt like early on that popped up as a concern, maybe overly concerned. And then in addition to being overly concerned, trying to do too much when he did feel like he had a good moment, he broke some or he didn't step up into some clean pockets in this one. That's been an issue a couple of different times since the return as well. This is absolutely on the table. I don't know that it's that style. Maybe it's something different. But yes, him having a bad game is certainly on the table. And the way I started the playoffs with the Texans and the way I thought about it was, if he's great in all these games, cool, they win the Super Bowl. If he's good in all these games, they'll have a chance to win each and every one of these games. And more often than not, if he's bad in these games, you're going to go home. So if he's bad in New England on Sunday, they probably come home and there's no more football after that. And then they have to go to the offseason. So if he has a bad game on Sunday, they're probably going home.
But does it not feel like he just needs to accept the role that they have set up for him because it keeps working? Like it feels like he is running away from a destiny of being an Eli Manning in this run. You know what I mean? And that is fine. Eli Manning is eating good off of the runs that he was able to make. As much as we, red me, will denigrate Eli Manning and his capabilities, he's sitting on his rings. He's sitting on his millions. He's sitting on his legendary status in New York. And it feels like CJ Stroud is pushing so much to try and like win games and be elite. And I'm just like, hey man, just ride the wave of what's happening here and do what you're supposed to.
The other thing and this is me, y'all know how I am. Y'all know I'm a podium critic. So I 100% accept that this might be reading too much into it, but I was a little bit, I don't want to say troubled. I was amused to see CJ Stroud go up there and say that he thought he played good.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest with you. And that kind of caused me to kind of adjust what I expect from him, because I've been battling this. Can he be elite? Is he not? And I've been leaning more on the second tier type of quarterback, whatever. Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence, like type of guy, not a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes. And I hear him go up there and say that, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I just need to adjust what I expect from CJ Stroud, because to me, that was not what a performance an elite quarterback had. And I'll just be honest with you. I don't think Josh Allen's going up there after that performance and saying I played good. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is doing that. I don't think Aaron Rodgers in his prime is doing that. I don't think Matthew Stafford's doing that. I don't think Tom Brady's doing that. I don't think Lamar Jackson's doing that. I don't think
Burrow, all of them.
I don't think any of the elite quarterbacks are going to go up there after that and say multiple times, I thought I played good. And I know maybe he's trying to convince himself. Maybe he's on the internet a little bit too much. But that, to me, was like a little bit of an eye-opener where I don't know how you can say that. Yeah. But okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
No, well, I was watching the game with Clint Sterner because we're watching it up at the station because, we're doing the post-game show afterwards. And Clint is as hypercritical of CJ as anybody, being a former quarterback. And and obviously as that performance was unfolding, there were all kinds of things being said as we're watching the game. And I said, the one thing I feel really confident about is that win or lose. And at this point, at the point I said this, it was pretty obvious they were going to, once they got to 17-6, they were winning that game. So it was somewhere in that juncture. I said, CJ will in this press conference after the game say that he wasn't good. He'll say I sucked. You know, my teammates picked me up or whatever. And we played the press conference and I listened to it and I'm hearing it for the first time. And I'm like, God, I was so wrong on this. Like he's justifying and rationalizing and doing all these things where he's it feels like he's ignoring the bad and he's highlighting the good. And I say all that to say, Landry, I'm completely with you. I was very surprised that he assessed himself that, because it's so easy, especially in a win. It's really easy in a win to go, hey man, like we would have won 47-3 if it weren't for me. I got to be better than this. And as I'm listening to the press conference, it's not like this red flag that like, oh, I don't want to re-sign the guy. I don't want to extend him. He shouldn't be the future of the franchise or whatever. But it's one of those things I'm like, I was really hoping for another answer to these questions here.
I look at it as maybe perspective and kind of confirmation of the battle that I've been going through, where maybe that is good for him. Yeah. Like maybe that is good for him. That's not to say that on any given Sunday he can't look very elite, but maybe that is good. Make some third down plays. You got to live with the mistakes. Like maybe that is. I was just a little bit surprised, and I admittedly probably put more stock than most in shit like that, which it is what it is. But I was just a little bit surprised that he said that.
I'm with you.
You just can't be, well, I played a good game outside of the couple of turnovers and the fumbles that I had. Okay, that very much falls into the I'm a good husband, but I cheated on my wife. As long as you leave out the cheating, I take the trash out every week. I pull the can in off the curb. Like,
other than the shooting, what did you think of the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Yeah. This is also the second time in about a month that CJ Stroud has had a very different recollection of his performance than most everybody else. He said that he felt like he was near perfect, or that's not the phrasing he used, but he said his best pre-snap game and his best organization and execution of the offense game was the Chargers game, and they could barely move the football after the first two drives when the Chargers adjusted to them. So I didn't necessarily agree with him there. I don't agree with him after last night. And look, the words don't matter as much as the actions, but it does give you a peek behind the curtain of, okay, I guess if you clean up the fumbled snap and the other fumbled snap and the snap that happened when you weren't ready and the interception and the missed throw. Like, if you do clean up all that, you probably did have a pretty good game, but you didn't clean those up. Those things occurred. So I can't put it in the good game bucket.
Yeah. All right. So we want to get to the defense at some point here, because the defense was outstanding last night. It's been outstanding all year, obviously. And then we know it's going to be the Patriots on Sunday at 2:00 Houston time. In the divisional round. The Texans will know on Sunday what the situation is. Are they going to be, they win, do they travel to Denver, or do they host the Buffalo Bills? Right now, the odds makers are flipping back and forth on all this stuff, but especially that Buffalo-Denver game has gone back and forth. So we'll talk about that. But in the meantime, Cody, do we want to get the people up to speed on Prize Picks?
We certainly do. Prize Picks. It is very simple. It's stat predictions. You put a few of them together, and if you get them correct, you were able to multiply your entry many times, more or less, on passing, touchdowns, receiving yards. It's all very fun and simple and easy. We did not win this week.
No, we didn't.
Jaden Higgins did not get into the end zone. Kenneth Gainwell did not get enough receptions.
This close. He had six targets, and he dropped one point blank. And at least that would have gotten us the push. But he definitely should have the opportunity to actually win us that. Come on, Kenny.
Yeah. So Kenny. That didn't go well for us. But there's flex entries where you don't have to win every piece of it. But rushing touchdowns, receiving yards, rushing yards, passing attempts, even interceptions. Hey, look, you can put a little demon, which adds to your payout if you get it correct. On Drake May throwing interceptions. There's lots of different ways to put your entry together when it comes to Prize Picks. We'll put our entry together on the community page later this week, and you can follow along with us, or you can, fade us, and that might be a worthwhile endeavor for you as well. But when you get signed up and you want to play Prize Picks, use the code Texans. Texans, when you get signed up, play your first 5, you get $50 in bonus play headed your way. Use the code Texans. When you play your first 5, you get 50 in bonus play headed your way. And look out on the community page this week for the entry to follow along.
Still a good time of year. You can do the combo platter. You can do a little basketball, a little football together.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of nice.
You want to get weird? Throw some hockey in there? Sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
MMA.
Yeah,
Number of
MMA.
strikes. 173 and a half strikes.
There's still college football left.
Yeah.
There's still college football left. So all sorts of fun things. Couple of super chats before we keep going. Gentlemen, Rich Boy Jay, is this already the best Texans season ever?
Yes.
Might be, yeah. I mean,
yes.
They're going to get as far as they have. So, and they're also they're a 2 or 3 point dog. They've been 9 or more in this round. So yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. I just look at it from the enjoyable part of it. Like this, the recovery from an 0-3 start, this defense being what it's been, 10-game winning streak, and feeling like right now this is the best I've felt about any of these Texans teams to get to the AFC title game, maybe win a Super Bowl. You know, it's AFC's wide open right now, man. Yes.
I also feel that way as well. Yep. Reggie?
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to feel like that. I mean, they have one of, if not the best units in all of football. There's not been a number of times where you could say that in Texas history.
Another super chat. Tazewell wants to know, Sean, you're not on the red wine tonight.
No, man. I'm on Powerade tonight. I got the purple Powerade. I got the red Powerade Zero, which is empty. It's in here. So no red wine tonight. But if the Texans win, if they beat New England, I'll be hammered on this thing next week. I'll tell you right now. I'll drink a whole bottle of red wine I'll drink an entire bottle of red wine during the stream next week if the Texans beat the Patriots.
Can we get a more or less on F-bombs in that show?
Yeah, we'll see if we get that added to Prize Picks.
Prize Picks host fantasy stats. Yes, 7.5 F-bombs.
Oh, man. There you go. One more here. Imagine if the Jags lost to the Titans. I guess he's saying that if the Texans had hosted instead of having to go on the road, common sense.
I'm seeing Jacksonville people complaining about this.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
They're sick people.
See people like it's a sea of people. You know, it's Twitter. It's like 3 Jacksonville people. But I saw complaints about like, oh, we won the division and we got screwed by getting Buffalo handed to us, and the Texans get this cakewalk into the AFC title game. And I'm like, okay, whatever. They had to go on the road. Like it's just funny. Jacksonville can go fuck themselves. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Fuck yourself, Jacksonville.
I mean, it's fair, but I mean, it's not like a travesty. I think we talked on this show. Yeah. Would you rather go to Pittsburgh or host Buffalo? And I think we had the answer. So yeah, sometimes the path, sometimes it just be like that. They could have easily thrown the game to the Titans though.
Yeah. Rest your guys. Go lose to the Titans.
Or have your coach, who I'm actually a fan of, have him kick the field goal instead of going for it, and maybe you're in good position, or that kicker that gets sucked off every time they get the
across the 50.
When you get a free second on the clock out of nowhere, maybe make that field goal. So I mean, yeah, that you'd probably be in a good situation there too.
Thank you, Landry. That's the dumbest shit ever. They beat Tennessee 41-7. Like, go take it up with your head coach. He tried his ass off in week 18. If you have a problem with it, go play whoever the hell your backup quarterback is in that game.
They probably could have stuck with the victory still.
Jaguars, keep those Twitter fingers up. You keep your chin up. You had a good season.
Yeah, where's Miss Lynn Jones? Talk to them people.
You had a good season. Keep those Twitter fingers up.
Yeah.
You'll be just fine.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to get to this
baseball?
Do we want to get to this Texans defense?
I guess we probably
yards,
should, right?
2 for 12 on third downs, a couple of touchdowns. The Texans defense has scored more touchdowns in the 3 wildcard games than the opposing offenses have. 5-3 is the tally right now. 5 defensive touchdowns. When we were watching the game up there last night, I was joking around. I said in the second quarter, I'm like, well, we're going to get a pick 6 in this game because that's what the Texans do in the wild card round. They get at least 1 pick 6, 2 a couple of years ago, 1 last year. And then when Sheldon Rankins returned it for a touchdown, I said, okay, well, I was a little off. It was a fumble return. And then along came Kalen Bullock to make me right again. This defense is awesome. 175 yards, 2 for 12 on third down, couple of touchdowns last night. Is it good enough to be able to beat the Patriots and then either the Broncos or the Bills? And then I guess the big thing would be, is it good enough to beat whoever comes out of the NFC?
The answer is yes. I mean, they're plus 75. I think I don't have it in front of me, plus 74 or whatever in the wild card round. The rankings thing was huge for a number of reasons. Like if the Texans, let's say the Texans get the ball back there and they have to kick a field goal, you're still talking about a 1-possession game. And at that point, regardless of how you feel about CJ Stroud, you didn't want to have to depend on him in that situation. You wanted to give some breathing room, survive, advance, and then just figure some stuff out. So I thought the defense was good on all levels. The Sheldon Rankins season, like he's replaced Tommy Togiai as the most unappreciated guy on this defense. And I kind of was amused last week when Cole Thompson, good guy, but he asked DeMeco, but Tommy Togiai, you don't talk about him very much, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, everybody's been talking about him all year, sir. Like he's not underrated anymore. We've been talking about him all year. I think Sheldon Rankins has had one of the more under the radar, really, really solid seasons on this defense to where he's kind of one of the unsung heroes. And I think he's kind of played his ass off. And I also think the last 3 weeks of Henry To'oTo'o has been another element. Like we can sit here and we can talk about the guys that we always talk about, but I think those two guys are guys that perhaps don't get enough credit and are a big part of what the defense is and what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, and I guess I will not then talk too much about Sheldon Rankins because he is a guy that I personally always talk about. I was in love with the cerebral nature of it, and it's maybe some of it is guilt because after seeing his last year with the Bengals, I was like, oh, this dude might be washed, and they bring him back. I'm like, ooh, all right, best of luck. Finding out that he had like the sickness and seeing his veteran mentality come in, it's been huge. They've talked about it in that locker room about how when he speaks, everybody listens and it's apparent. And I loved that he was one of those dudes that very much was the patch for something that we had looked at with this defense as one of the few places where a team could get at them, which was a mobile quarterback getting after them. He is so cerebral in recognizing when, okay, there's a lane that I need to cover up, or there is a containment circumstance where I need to go ahead and circle out and give a level of pursuit to. And then in this game, right, he's probably the best dude on this defense in recognizing screens. I don't know that there's a screen that he has not been one of the first dudes at. Like, he's been fantastic. But with that being the case, I would actually like to talk about the dudes that we do talk about all the time because they make this thing work. Now, I had a little bit of perspective on this because I was talking to somebody who watches a good amount of football, but has not like been covering it in a media aspect right now. And he's talking to me and he's like, yeah, well, you might have Derek Stingley follow. And I'm like, no, they don't have to do that. Like, you don't need to have him follow anybody not because Stingley isn't that guy. Clearly he is capable of it. It's because I don't need to follow any of you guys to anywhere. Kamari Lassiter will do the damn job over here as well. And in an odd way, over the middle, I'm a lot less afraid of what teams are going to do. DK Metcalf is a dude that they got into the slot and they wanted him to go and attack them, and they managed to handle this pretty well. Azeez Al-Shaair is out here taking Pat Freiermuth down the seam and sticking in his back pocket. Like I'm looking at all these dudes and the ways that they handle this, and you cannot bend this defense to your will. The defense bends you to their will. And I think that in its most primal is the thing that I am here in sports for, is watching teams do things incredible and then watching teams impose their will. At its essence, that's what these sports are about. And this defense is 100% about imposing their will. Oh, you have a great receiver out here. It's not going to change the way that we play. Bring it, right? Oh man, whatever. We're not blitzing. We got 4 of these guys and they're going to come. They're going to whoop your ass. I think that it's very a simplistic thing to do, but I think we have to keep bringing it up because it is incredible to say that. We've made football such a schematic, advanced thing, and they get out here on the simplest way and they whoop your ass.
And I tell you who was setting the tone for the ass whooping, and he's been good all season, but he was great last night. Jalen Petrie.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Petrie was all over the place. It's almost like he's more physical after the concussion. Like, it's almost like the Guardian helmet just kind of –
the helmet, baby.
Yeah, it just gave him superpowers, and he was flying around. I don't think anybody got an inch after catch, much less a yard after catch after Petrie made contact with him. He's dragging guys backwards as he's tackling them. He's holding guys up, and everybody else is flying around there. And, I mean, he's been really good this season, but he was great last night. And if they have great Jalen Petrie down the stretch here, they're going to keep playing for a few more games, not just New England. So I think that's worth pointing out too.
He was like a fat blunt. Like he was just he was relaxing. Like it was a very high stress game. But every time Jalen Petrie would make a play, it would just be like very soothing to where you could kind of breathe, almost like after you hit a fatty. Like it was like, okay, Jalen Pete, and it was a back and forth type of thing. But I thought he was a tone setter. I thought he was a stress reliever. I thought he was an ass kicker. And I'll be the first to admit, I was wondering about that extension when it happened. They've done a good job. And if you just go back at, this is the greatness of DeMeco, because we've talked about guys who've latched on at the end of the season and made contributing factors. We've talked about guys who he's developed into guys who he's brought in, but Jalen Petrie got benched DeMeco's first year. Like, we forget this. Like, Jalen Petrie got benched because he was a traditional safety. He was coming off of a good year, and they found this new role for him, and it's just been perfect. And this was, I think, maybe one of Jalen Petrie's best games that he's ever played. And I think he was the guy who was setting the tone throughout when this was a 1-point game, when this was a 1-possession game. I thought Jalen Petrie was that dude.
My favorite thing is how the national announcers treat the Texans tackling defensive backs like they're some sort of aliens or something like that. Like Kamari Lassiter in particular.
They are, though.
Watch this cornerback that comes up and tackles guys. Like, yeah.
They are. Like, usually on a team, if you have one of those, you're like, oh, look, a shooting star. You got 5 of those.
Yeah, right.
You get 5 of those, and then sometimes they'll bring a dude off the practice squad who's also here to thump. Like, that is insane to have all of these dudes, which is honestly a testament to what DeMeco Ryans has as a program. Not just does he elevates dudes, because you can really point to pretty much everybody on that defense and go, yeah, they are better because they are here in this system, not just because of the dudes playing next to them, but they literally are better versions of themselves. But then on top of that, like, they buy in, they believe, and if you got to get on or get gone, right? And it shows up. It shows up. Everybody's got to be aggressive. I've been places covering dudes where it's like, well, that's just something he's never going to do. Not a DeMeco Ryans defense. Y'all all gonna hit.
Yeah, and I thought it was also like the Metcalf drop, I think, kind of flipped the game too. Are you talking about that, Sean? I don't think they targeted him after that till the fourth quarter. But and that could have changed the game. But I also thought, just like, this is like a real small thing. Pittsburgh comes out, they have 2 straight plays for 10+ yards, and then all of a sudden Derek Stingley goes up and helps in run coverage. And it might look like a small thing, but I do think this defense, for some reason, like, they're just so synchronized that they feed off of crap like that. They have like an appreciation of Kamari Lassiter going in there and laying the wood and against the run. And I think Derek Stingley doing that kind of calmed things down a little bit, because you saw him go up there and do his thing, and then the Pittsburgh ends up punting. It's insane what they can do. And the other person that I want to credit, as I'll continue my hipster phase of the defense and talk about random ass stuff. I think that, there's a lot of Matt Burke's getting a lot of love, and I saw like, oh, could he be a head coach? He's not a head coach. This is still DeMeco's defense. This is very. It's not simple, but it's a lot of ass kickers. I think the guy that I look at that I don't know how much longer they're going to have him is Rod Wright. I think Rod Wright's a really, 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 really good defensive line coach. I think naturally he's going to be a defensive coordinator, and I think he could end up being a head coach one day. Because I think Rod Wright is really good at what he does on the D line. And quite frankly, you got Danielle Hunter and you got Will Anderson. After that, it's not like these are like massive names that are doing what they're doing. Like Tommy Togiai was on the streets after getting released by Cleveland. Sheldon Rankins, they punted on him in Cincinnati after 1 year. That's one of the worst defenses in the entire league. Derek Barnett, I mean, he's good, but like it's Derek Barnett. And then some of the other guys that he's getting a lot out of, I think Rod Wright, the defensive line coach, I think he's naturally going to crawl up, but I think he's someone that deserves a lot of credit as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think the NFL or ESPN rather did a sit down with Will and Daniil before this game that they gave a lot of love to Rod Wright and what he does in that room. No, I think you're absolutely right in that regard.
All right, fellas. So it's the Patriots and the Texans, 2:00 Sunday, ESPN, not CBS.
More Aikman.
I was watching that like the unveiling of the brackets in March Madness. Like,
they were hyping it up like that. Why does this matter?
Which network? Because Tony Romo makes it miserable to watch a football game for 3 hours. And I'm not a huge, like, the announcers affect my enjoyment of the game guy. Like,
You're kind of big on it, Sean.
No. But he legitimately affects my enjoyment of it. Like, I watch games with bad announcers sometimes. It doesn't affect my enjoyment. Tony Romo affects my enjoyment of the game. He's that bad. That's my point.
Fair. It's very fair.
Yeah.
Very fair. Yeah, that was big.
Yeah, I don't know why Reggie's downplaying this. I was very excited to find out who the broadcast team was.
See? Yeah. So 2:00 on Sunday. I guess one of the big storylines here is going to be Nico Collins and his availability for this game, which I think is I'm with you, Cody. I think it's a zero. It would be a zero for me just based on the short turnaround time, but the optics of that concussion compared to other concussions, the cart taking him off, the towel over the head.
Baby. We didn't care about no optics.
The towel over the head.
We don't care about no optics.
Where are we? Okay, but Nico concussion protocol, Christian Gonzalez on their side concussion protocol, and Gonzalez is in that same neighborhood of cornerbacks that Nico is in wide receivers. You know, he's whatever, borderline all-pro. He might have even been a second-team all-pro. I'm not sure. I hate to take the human element here and kind of, fudge it. We're talking about people with brains and whatnot, but where, like, the trade-off of that, Nico and Christian Gonzalez, is that a fair trade-off here? Does it matter? Is one more important to their team than the other? Where are you guys on that?
I would say yes. I mean, I would say absolutely. That's a big trade-off. That's actually a big break for both teams. I would say, and the other good news about it is now Christian Gonzalez, assuming that he doesn't play, he doesn't line up against Higgins or something like that. So I think it's a wash. It's a trade-off. I still think even without Nico Collins, this is the best arsenal of receivers that CJ Stroud has had in this round. The other couple of times that he's played top to bottom because of the injuries. So yeah, I think that's a massive trade-off and a massive break for the Texans if they were going to go without Nico Collins, the fact that Christian Gonzalez isn't out there.
Yeah, I think that this evens out on those sides, especially because you look over there at the Patriots and a lot of teams in the National Football League are established like the Texans to feel like, all right, well, we'll just next man up it, and it's actually just going to be largely the same. Like, that is going to create a hole in what they do and balance in what they do. And oddly enough, this is where I think you can give the Texans credit, even if it's not in all, depending on how intentional it is. They've moved the ball around quite a bit. They felt a level of confidence in various different guys at different places. And it feels like the last stone in the gauntlet of sorts has been Christian Kirk having that game last week, where it felt like it wasn't just him having a game, but him actually impacting the game, creating separation in circumstances where it felt like he just never created circumstances with his route running. That's all good. It's going to need to show up again, though, because as much as I can say that they lost something at 2 and it evens out, you saw the difference between Jaden Higgins and Nico Collins immediately when Jaden Higgins goes on a go route. CJ Stroud puts a back shoulder throw, and Jaden Higgins doesn't even know how to adjust to it in the way that Nico Collins 100% brings that ball in. And I'm like, those plays, those end up being vital for this team, where sometimes they don't get a lot of opportunities at shots or chunk plays, and being able to make the most of it matters. You not having that guy in particular is going to be rough. Not having the guy that forces defenses to have to overload their help is going to be different. But they have the capabilities, especially if they can get Christian Kirk to be as dependable as he was, maybe utilize Dalton Schultz more because he was kind of notoriously drawn back in this game. And then, of course, the big one that you've talked about a number of times, Sean, if they can run the football, that changes all of this.
Yeah, a little bit more running. And, Hutchinson's not been a disappointment when he's had to go in there and play. It's not like they're running Jared Wayne and his, slippery cleats out there like they did last year in the divisional round. So Hutchinson's been a fine player. He's not Nico. He's not going to replicate Nico, but he knows the plays. He can go run the routes. He's not going to be lost or in the wrong place and things like that. So that's a positive. I don't know. You can expect this level of Kirk, but just being a productive player when he hasn't been super productive is a huge benefit to this thing. And they didn't really throw it a bunch to Dalton Schultz. He had the one catch to kind of keep it off the ground. And, he's kind of anonymous outside of that. But that's a guy that they've leaned on when the offense hums. And a lot of times those quick decisions aren't Nico balls. A lot of times those quick decisions are Dalton Schultz and Jaden Higgins or Christian Kirk. So let's see what they do to to maybe maximize some of those quick decisions to the guys without Nico Collins.
The NFL, the NFL is so I love it for this, but it's like episodically, it's so awesome. Like the Week 18 game against San Francisco, where there was no Nico, you figure like, okay, well, there's no Nico, and CJ was amazing. That was one of his best games as a pro. I thought was in that San Francisco game. But then it's over and you move on, and then the next week is week 9, and Nico comes back, and you go on with the season. Now here we are in the divisional round, and I find myself going, I got to go back and watch that San Francisco game where there was no Nico and CJ was so good, to see if there were things in that game that are replicable for this game. Like you go back and you find stuff you didn't think you would have to go find. Similarly, Christian Kirk, like if last week Christian Kirk was the worst trade ever, $16 million, money flushed down the toilet, 239 yards receiving for the entire season. He sucks. Nick's an idiot. All these things. You could argue he's worth every penny of that money now, because he basically won a playoff game for you offensively. And if he goes and does something in this game that somehow replaces Nico to some degree, he's not Nico Collins, obviously, he's very different. But if this passing game works, and he's a big catalyst as to why that is, 2 games in the playoffs can completely flush 17 games worth of a regular season for you. It's fascinating stuff to me. I love this stuff.
And I know they didn't go fully in on winning against Indianapolis, but they did feel comfortable enough in a game that they at least tried to win for half of it to rest Nico Collins.
Yes.
And I think Xavier Hutchinson has come a long way. Higgins, Knoll, all those guys, there's some potential. There are weapons there. So I think their actions have kind of shown that they have more confidence in these guys. And I think, quite frankly, they should.
They're way more equipped. If they lost Nico the last 2 years in the postseason, they'd have been sunk. They've got guys now.
Yeah, the only question I ask is, Nick Haley seems like he does a good job when Nico Collins is there and guys are slotted into certain roles. Yeah. When guys have to move into other roles, can he do those adapting or having those adaptations? I think remains to be seen. I would like to give you a fun little note as I pulled up the box score from Week 8 against San Francisco. Are you familiar with Braxton Berrios, who had 5 targets in that game?
I am, yes.
Just wanted to bring that to your – then Jared Wayne had 2 targets as well. That was fun. That's all I had. That was it. Yep.
Yeah, she had a catch.
Berrios, if Nico doesn't play, Berrios is probably going to be active this week.
Oh, God.
So it's not – I mean, it's
well, that's the thing. They're missing Justin Watson more than likely, too. He got a concussion. He's not going to play.
When did that happen? I don't even know when he got in.
Special teams had to be.
I didn't even know he was active. Like they were talking about that on the broadcast. Like, oh, by the way, Justin Watson is active. I'm like, he's still on the team?
I wasn't even paying enough attention to the broadcast to hear that. I see it on the little game track or whatever, and I'm like, is there a Watson on the other team? Who's
Watson?
Watson?
Into his head or something? Like, what happened? How did he get concussed?
Somebody threw something in the stands. He got hit by a terrible towel.
Yeah, he hit one of the battery or something. What the fuck? 2 bucks. All right, boys. So
before the game, though, Braxton Berrios is probably gonna go pee on that Tom Brady statue.
Yes, as he should. Woman stealer.
He might be arrested. He might be arrested.
His dollarinis
for indecent exposure. They might be without Braxton Berrios.
Well, you know what? Let's do it for Braxton Berrios. I'm good with that. If that needs to be the rallying cry, I'm here for it. You know what I mean? Like there's few things that motivate you in sports.
Damn,
money, women, and babies, right?
Yeah.
Like, and hey, I feel like we can use the woman thing to get the team going to a different level.
Why couldn't this have been on Fox, man? That'd have been even better.
Oh yeah,
got Brady calling a Berrios game.
Oh yeah.
By the way, there's the theory though that she set him up, and that she basically just she told her friend, and her friend kind of recorded it, and she set him up. Like it's don't know.
I can believe that.
We had Berrios on the post game show during the I think the 3rd preseason game, which would be the only that'd be the only game on the schedule that would stand to reason that Braxton Berrios is a guest on the post game show. And we had him on, and I asked him about the relationship, and he was very sheepish about it. Like, yes, it felt like a relationship that she was going to wind up with Tom Brady at some point. As soon as we hung up with him, I'm like, she's definitely winding up with Tom Brady for sure.
A couple of super chats before we wrap up, gentlemen. Joku05. If Texans and Bills win, Buffalo and Texans AFC Championship game.
Cujo.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
You guys feel I feel pretty strongly about the Bills in this matchup. Do you?
Yes.
I don't know. No Gabe Davis. And one of the things about this Bills team is just they are even more bereft of like actual dudes that can catch the football, like real life bodies that can catch the football. I don't know how that actually ends up working for them, but they will get Ed Oliver back, which is going to be big for them. I don't know. Is Bo Nix going to keep pulling things out of his ass? Like that's the thing that I keep wondering with this team. And he kept doing it for the most part. So that'll be interesting. I will say I'm rooting for them because I feel a lot better about the mysticism of beating up on the Bills than figuring out what the hell the Broncos have.
Well, the other thing is that is Josh Allen going to be able to walk? Like he's beat up against Jacksonville. Now you have to go to Denver and face that defense. And then if the Texans take care of business, you got to go face the Texans defense.
Yeah. That's a great point, Landry. I forget who I said that to this week, but I was like, man, I think it was to Seth. I said, if somehow Buffalo finds a way to get to the AFC title game and it's against the Texans, you are going to get such a beat up version of Josh Allen in this game. It would be delightful.
Yeah, he's getting roughed up.
Yeah.
He looked like one of those guys in the movies where they just have his entire body in a cast.
He's got a sling and a crutch out of nowhere, just like he fell off a cliff and they show up with a crutch and a sling and Band-Aids on their face.
Yeah, exactly. Rich Boy J asked thoughts on the DJ BNMA article with the details of CJ GJ's departure. For anybody who hadn't read that, to summarize it a little bit, it's worth reading for the details of it. Basically, CJ Gardner-Johnson had words with everyone in the secondary at some point in the Jacksonville Jaguars game. The gist of it was how the two Jags games sort of were a genesis for this Texans team in the regular season. But yeah, CJ Gardner-Johnson got into it with Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley. Aziz tried to, calm him down. He had a shot that he fired off to Jalen Petrie, and yeah, it just didn't seem like it was a good teammate.
And that was a good move, man. Like the defense kind of tightened up a little bit after that. The whole vibe was a little bit off with him, but yeah, I mean, not a great signing, but yeah, it was DJ was all over that. It was crazy how he had those random clips of plays too. I don't know. That's some good investigating right there.
Oh, you don't think DJ just found it in the film?
He looked at every game and watched the all 22 and said, these look like 3 plays that might have cost them these games.
He said in his basement, like Mike McCarthy when he was trying to get a job for the Cowboys, and he watched. Wait, let's rewind that play right there. He just had him perfect. I think he had him like 3 minutes after Gardner-Johnson was gone. It was impressive.
Oh, shit.
But I mean, what that does speak to is, man, he sure pissed on everybody's legs now, didn't he? Like he stepped on all the toes. You looked at that story and you were like, wait, he pissed off Kamari Lassiter? He was up here upsetting Derek Stingley? Okay, and he was out here talking about Jalen Petrie's money?
Yeah.
Could he have what if he had keyed Will Anderson Jr.'s car is the only other way that he could have pissed off some more people that were important to DeMeco Ryans in this defense? Like, really? All the people?
Lassiter, CJ Gardner-Johnson, what is it? Lassiter minus 400 in the fight? Like, what's?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you think the actual fight? Oof.
Nobody wants to fight Lassiter.
He's a
psycho. He's a psycho.
Yeah.
Also, because it ain't no one-on-one, because Kalen Bullock's coming over the top. 100%. Ain't no one-on-ones on this. They jumping your ass.
True. That's true.
Jamal Hill's coming too. Don't let that fool you. He's coming over here too.
All right. Last one here, random looker. Am I the only one that saw the Steelers playing Diddy ball?
Yeah, dog.
What
the old dick twist is what we're doing here?
I didn't see this. What?
Oh. So Jalen Noel in one play ends up, and I believe it was Ben Skoranek.
It was Skoranek, yeah.
Grabs his manhood, at his manhood. And I'm not going to lie. I'm a little naive in this because I did not realize the modern NFL was still getting in piles, grabbing on people's things and putting fingers places and snapping fingers. Like, apparently that's still happening. Shout out to Ben Skoranek out here getting touchy-feely.
That's embarrassing.
Pro Bowler Ben Skoranek.
Bowler Ben Skoranek. Former Notre Dame alum Ben Skoranek, which is embarrassing. We don't.
Yeah, y'all be out here grabbing people in the.
We don't jump grab. No, not.
That's what y'all be teaching under the visage of touchdown Jesus.
Affectionately, we'll be like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" Not violently. Hey, pal.
Is there any chance that that's what he was doing? Was just like a little. Hey, what's up, Jalen? What's up?
They weren't teammates though. Maybe he had him confused with someone he was on the Texans with back in 2024.
Just an accident. Wrong one. My bad, guy.
He's like, hey, buddy. Oh, sorry. I thought you were Hutchinson.
Damn you, Jared Wayne. It's like, what? I'm not Jared Wayne.
I thought you were Hutch. My bad. Sorry, Noel.
Wrong Iowa State receiver. My
Wrong
bad.
Iowa State receiver. I got a fetish. Sorry. Okay. It's Iowa State wide receivers, just like Casario. All right. Fellas, this was enjoyable as always. Can't wait for Sunday afternoon. And obviously, we'll be back in our normal time slot next Monday, hopefully to break down a Texans win and preview the first AFC title game in the history of the team. That would be absolutely outstanding. I'm Sean Pendergast, one half of Payne and Pendergast, Sports Radio 610. A quick reminder, give us a like, give us a subscribe on the YouTube channel here, and download Prize Picks and use the code Texans to get your free 50 when you use when you enter a $5 lineup on Prize Picks. We love Prize Picks for sponsoring the show. Landry, you got a stream going tonight?
10:30. We're gonna do 5 big thoughts about the New England Patriots. We're gonna move on to New England. I've talked enough about the Steelers. It's time to move on.
There you go. Turn the page. The Locker Room with Landry Locker, In the Loop, Reggie Atatula, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sports Radio 610. Cody Stutes, Houston Football with Cody Stutes, does a great job as well covering the team. And when's the next SNL going on, fellas?
4 o'clock. Actually, tomorrow, probably a little bit later. Practice is starting a little bit later. So probably 6 tomorrow.
Okay, there you go. We got a Spankies coming up.
Spankies next Friday. BB's Kingwood this Friday. So
there you go. We love the live appearances. Cody and Landry out with the people. So BB's Kingwood this Friday. Be there to be there for an excellent preview of the Texans and the Patriots this Sunday, 2 o'clock. You can hear that game on Sports Radio 610, 11 a.m. Texans Countdown with myself and Seth Payne. We get started at 11 a.m. and then myself and Clint Sterner after the game, hopefully celebrating a Texans victory. So until then, we appreciate everybody jumping in here on the stream tonight. Again, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and most importantly, be with us next Monday when we...
Reggie?
Oh, shout out to the divisional round hose. It's a different level. Yeah.
Sorry, I almost left the hose out of this whole thing.
Yeah, and you can't leave out the hose.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, I left out the hose. Well, you know what's coming now, fellas. We are all done. So, Cody, as you will, end stream.